here is Cartethyia. Cartethyia, now a wandering knight, Thernodian's malicious creation, the Order's unsuspecting laureate, the defier lost in the tides of fate. These titles once, bro, this shit sounds like fucking, what's Daenerys Targaryen? Fucking 15 titles just to announce her fucking entrance. These titles once portrayed in poems and books have long since slipped from my grasp. As for what lies ahead, let's explore it together, sword bearer. Okay. Ooh, that's fucking pretty. I wonder if the face changes for if you switch to fleur-de-lis. That would be really cool if they did that. Okay, so this is a new ascension map that's probably, oh man, I wonder, well no, we get early access, right? Main damage dealer, arrow erosion, damage amplification, and traction. What the fuck is traction? Suck in? Oh, okay. Normal attack. I saw some people saying they wish that Cartethia's like moves were more like less magical and more like physical attacks, but you know, I think this shit's kind of cool. Look at the 3 swords, bro. This is cool as fuck. Deal arrow damage and inflict arrow erosion on target. Okay, deal arrow damage and inflict arrow erosion on target. Summon Shadow Sword 2. Deal heavy attack. Summon Shadow Sword 1. What? I'm so confused. Where do you get Shadow Sword 3? Because there's 3 swords. Oh. From her fucking skill. Okay. Deal arrow damage and inflict arrow erosion on the target. Summon Shadow Sword 3. Yeah, I think the plunge attack consumes the 3 swords, right? Okay, here we go. Resonance Liberation. A knight's heartfelt prayers. What a size difference on this shit, bro. Okay, at the cost of HP, transform into fleur-de-lis and enter manifest, during which certain attacks immediately trigger arrow erosion damage. How much HP? When in manifest, fleur-de-lis gains the following effect corresponding to different types of swords, shadow swords, sword shadow recalled. Okay, certain attacks propagate the highest stacks of arrow erosion on targets hit to all nearby targets. So this spreads the arrow erosion application? So like, it gives you way better AoE maybe? She's Malzahar? Yeah, seems like it. The damage interval of arrow erosion damage is reduced and the arrow erosion damage taken by the target is amplified. Huge. Certain attacks stagnate the enemy, gain increased resistance to interruption. I wonder if it's worth to do all 3 at all times. Or if it's like only worth to do like 2 or something. Maybe all 3. So basically you'd have to do, you have to do a full basic chain? Or is it just like the first hit? Okay, it looks like full chain. Okay, you have to do full chain to get the first sword 2. You have to do heavy to get sword 1. And then a mid-air attack. So you do full basic chain into a heavy attack, into skill, into mid-air attack to recall all swords. Oh, intro gives Shadow Sword 1. Does her intro get her to like basic 3 or something and then get, let's keep reading here. Forte Circuit. Transform into fleur-de-lis and unlock new moves. When in manifest, Cartethyia is able to freely transform between herself and fleur-de-lis. As fleur-de-lis attacks restore Forte Gauge, when Forte Gauge's full Resonance Liberation finisher is available. Intro skill. Deal arrow damage and inflict arrow erosion on the target. Summon Shadow Sword 1. Oh, okay, so you don't have to do the heavy. So you could basically just intro skill into full basic chain skill, plunge, alt. Intro does the heavy, yeah. Outro skill. Arrow damage dealt by other active resonators in the team to targets with negative status is amplified. I mean, I guess Chacona buff? Arrow rover buff, but like, all right. I feel like this one's like, maybe could get better in the future. Gain enhancements through different sword shadows and greatly boost arrow erosion damage output. Inflict arrow erosion and gain a substantial damage boost based on the arrow erosion stacks on the target. Cartethyia may freely transform between herself and fleur-de-lis. How fast does Chacona apply arrow erosion stacks? Isn't she like slow to stack up? Like she's not super fast, right? Let me see how fast we could do, how fast we get stacks on like a quick rotation here. Oh, we only have 3 stacks. Is it Arrow Rover that increases the cap on stacks? I remember something increases the max on stacks. It's Arrow Rover, right? Okay. I was like, why isn't it 6? I forgot you need Arrow Rover in the team. Okay. Okay. So once we have Arrow Rover, okay, that seems like it'll be pretty fast to get to 6 then. Let me just to see it. Let me do this. See how fast we could get to 6. Do you need to do anything on Arrow Rover? Or is it just in the team? It's slow, but it keeps reapplying it. Okay, you need an outro. How do you play Arrow Rover? I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. Fuck, I don't have energy for all. Is there a way to get Arrow Erosion, Arrow Rover's forte faster? Okay, it doesn't seem that slow, to be honest. Getting the forte up. Oh my god. Yo, honestly, Arrow Rover's plunge attack is kind of fucking nice. Huh. Alright, I think Card also applies stacks. Okay, Mr. Slice was making his guide and he did say that arrow thing isn't as bad as Zania at least. And in theory, it will stay capped the minute you get to 6. Yeah. Okay. Doesn't seem that bad. Seems to be pretty quick. A stage of basic attack, heavy attack, intro skill, and resonant skill of Cartethyia will summon different sword shadows. When there are sword shadows on the field, Cartethyia plunge attack will recall the sword shadows and cause additional damage based on the sword shadows recalled. When resonance energy is full, press Resonance Liberation to transform into Fleur de Lis and obtain different bonus effects for a certain period of time based on these sword shadows recalled. How much energy regen do we need on Cartethyia? There's no way it's none. And maybe 120, 130? Following basic attack stage 4, inflict 1 stack of arrow erosion. Okay, so she does apply arrow erosion herself. So, you know, okay. So you should be able to get to 6 real fast. So you just start on Arrow Rover, outro into Chacona, and then instantly swap into Cartethyia. Where's her intro here? Wait, look at this. Her intro inflicts 2 stacks of arrow erosion on target hit. Yeah, you could just pretty much just pop Chacona or ult like immediately upon outroing from Rover and then just go right into Cartethyia. And then you immediately have 2 more stacks. That's like basically you're capped instantly. Card also consumes stacks for damage. How often does she consume stacks? Let me okay. Oh my god, this is a lot. All right. Consume stamina to attack the target, dealing arrow damage and summoning sword of Discord Shadow can be performed in midair. Basic attack damage. So what's her damage profile here? It might be basic attack. Release normal attack button while airborne to perform plunging attacks at the cost of stamina, dealing arrow damage. So the plunge attack takes you into B2. Casting midair attack recalls all shadow swords. Fleur's kit is lower, by the way, not where you're looking. I know, this is all Cartethyia stuff. I'm just going through one by one. Attack the target, launch nearby enemies, and then plunge them to the ground, dealing arrow damage. And inflicted 2 stacks of... Oh, so she has 2 more stacks of arrow erosion on her skill. Seems like everything is basic attack damage. And then here's the ult by reducing HP to 50%. Damn. I mean, this should be fine, right? Because Arrow Rover's healing you anyways. Like, realistically, you're rotating from Cartethyia or from Arrow Rover to Chacona to Cartethyia and then back to Arrow Rover and then probably ulting. So then pretty much filling up your Cartethyia back up to full. So HP scaling, she has so much HP. Just heal more, bro. What the fuck are you doing under me, dog? They switched it last second the other day to make it basic attack damage. It was arrow erosion damage before. It might be because they don't want to create another Zani Peep situation with Chakona. To be honest, I would rather they put it back to arrow erosion damage. Because I invested into Chakona. Alright? Put it back to arrow erosion damage, motherfuckers. Fuck them. Entering Manifest clears all conviction as Fleur-de-Lis basic attack, stage 5 mid-air attack, Fleur-de-Lis stage 2, and resonant skill made Tempest Break the Tides instantly triggers 1 instance of air erosion damage and reduce the air erosion stack on the target by 1. Ending the state will not clear resonance energy. No cost, HP cost when HP is below 50. Oh! Bro, so the HP cost only exists if you're above 50. There's no cost. I mean, it'd be stupid if it's below, but like, I don't know. Like, okay, it's 50% of max HP rather than current HP. Imagine if they made this 50% of current HP, and then you progressively kill your Cartethyia more and more per rotation. Fleur-de-Lis attacks restore conviction on hit. When conviction reaches 120 points, press Liberation to cast Resonant Liberation Blade of Howling Squall. When conviction is below, press Resonance Liberation to transform back into Cartethyia. When it manifests, casting Resonance Liberation. How long does Manifest last, chat? This means if you could just seamlessly transform from Fleur-de-Lis to Cartethyia at any point, and you just need to like get your stacks up a little bit, you can just switch back to Cartethyia, pop her Resonance skill real quick, get 2 stacks, and then turn back. 12 seconds? Ooh, okay. It's a little short. Oh, yeah. It says 12 seconds. Okay, so realistically, I mean, is there a actual use to switching back to Cartethyia within Manifest? Maybe transform to Cartethyia real quick just to get, like, max erosion or arrow erosion stacks just in case you don't have it before popping ult. Fleur-de-Lis has Heart of Virtue in Manifest. Will generate a force field to stagnate the targets within the range. I wonder how long her stagnate is. Or how, like, frequent it is. Fleur-de-Lis resistance to interruption increases. Heart of Virtue is removed when Manifest ends. When Fleur-de-Lis has Mandate of Divinity in Manifest, air erosion damage is amplified by 50% and the damage interval is decreased by 50% for enemies within a certain distance from Fleur-de-Lis. Okay, and Power of Discord in Manifest, when casting basic attack, stage 5 mid-air attack, break the tide, raise the arrow erosion stack on all nearby enemies to the highest count among the targets. Power of Discord is removed when Manifest ends. So I think this kind of makes it so like she's even less dependent on Chakona, right? Whereas Chakona could just be on field, like applying this shit to everything. Even if you don't have Chakona, you get a little bit of AoE application. So it's not bad. Fleur-de-Lis will transform back to Cartethyia during quest dialogues, environmental interaction animations, or using utilities. No! We can't fly around as Fleur-de-Lis, bro. Oh, bro, that's a deal breaker, man. I wanted to fly around as Fleur-de-Lis. I wanted my little tiny glider wings fucking carrying my giant, like, 15-foot tall giantess in the sky. That would be too much, bro. That shit would be hilarious. You just see a fucking, like, 15-foot tall giantess with little fucking glider wings flying around as she Superman poses. Peeb wins. Fleur-de-Lis can walk on water. Doing so on deep waters continuously consumes stamina. When in walking state, Fleur-de-Lis can step out of a high place and walk in midair by continuously consuming stamina. What does that mean? Press Resonance Liberation to perform basic attack Cartethyia stage 2 and temporarily transform back to Cartethyia, which pauses the timer on Manifest. Oh! So you could actually pause the 12-second timer on Manifest to quickly switch back to Cartethyia, and then that means you can do the elemental skill to get 2 stacks of erosion and then just turn back immediately if you want. That's actually pretty nice. I like that. So it actually literally, you can stop the Manifest from running out. Yeah, this is for like, I think this is definitely like quality of life for Chakona-less players. Yeah, if you're a fucking dirty pig that skipped Chakona. When in Manifest, casting Resonance Liberation as Cartethyia performs basic attack Fleur-de-Lis state. I'm just saying, all right? If you're a Cartethyia fan, you'd have Chakona, okay? Frauds. Fleur-de-Lis stage 2 without consuming resonance energy and transform her back to Fleur-de-Lis, which resumes the timer on Manifest. Wait. So is it just straight up paused until you go back to Fleur-de-Lis? So can you just pause Manifest? You could just have Manifest never run out and then just hold it. That's kind of awesome, actually. Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. I like that a lot. Yeah, no, that's an insane fucking quality of life for her play style. So does Cartethyia need Chacona? I think having Chacona will make your life a lot easier. Just so there's less like management you have to do with Cartethyia herself and can kind of focus on DPSing. I don't think you need her. Just from looking at her kit so far, she has a lot of things that can basically make up for the lack of Chacona. It's that you'll just have to do a couple extra steps yourself to make sure you get all these things. One of her swords literally gives you AoE application of arrow erosion, which kind of is a no-brainer. You'll be doing that anyway, so that's not really like going out of your way. I think the only thing you'd have to go out of your way to do is probably transform out of Fleur-de-Lis form, pause Manifest to like cast a skill or something so that you can get an arrow erosion stacks applied, and then transform back. Just because you probably want max stacks when you ult, right? That's probably the only little like extra thing you might have to do in your rotation if you don't have Chacona. Yeah. See this. All right. When Fleur-de-Lis is 120%, Resonance Liberation and Knight's blah, 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 Blade of Howling. Casting Resonance Liberation, Blade of Howling, Squall, removes all conviction, ends Manifest, restores oh, wait, what the fuck? Okay, never mind. I was wrong. You don't even need to worry about having Arrow over ult. You just, what? She just self-heals? So she just self-heals anyways. The 50% back, and then oh my god, hang on, I'm trying to figure something out real quick. Yo, doesn't she sound like an insane solo character? I'm trying to understand. I think she's an insane solo character because you have self-sustain, you have self-arrow erosion application, and you can pause Manifest to go back to Cartethyia form to reapply arrow erosion stacks that you need, right? And then none of that is tied to a fucking forte bar like fucking Peeb is with Confession Absolution. Yeah, I feel like this character is kind of cracked for solos. S6 makes it to 25%. Why do you call her solo when she is 2 and 1? Well, you know what I mean, as like a solo unit. S3 makes her solo without the need anyone else. Either way, yeah, I think she'll be very fun to solo holograms with, just looking at this kit so far. Restores 50% of max HP and then deals arrow damage to all targets in an area along a straight line in front. Upon hitting the target, remove all stacks of arrow erosion on the target. Each stack removed amplifies the damage taken by targets by 20% up to 5 stacks. So why the fuck can Arrow Rover uncap your stacks to 6 if it only goes up to 5? For the fucking, unless Cartethyia has a sequence node that lets you get beyond 5 to like 6. She consumes 1, right? Does she consume 1 before you ult? I don't think so. There's stuff that raises the max cap. Well, yes, Arrow Rover is raising the max cap to 6. So what of her kit is considered arrow erosion damage? Is it literally just her ult? Because that's all I'm seeing. None anymore. Only cart plunge attack. The arrow explosion also. They removed that shit and put it back to arrow damage. I wonder why. I guess they just didn't want another spectro frazzle damage situation. So none of Fleur-de-Lis's moves seem to give you arrow erosion stacks. They only consume arrow erosion stacks, right? As far as I can understand. That's why you might want to switch back to Cartethyia to just like do any application in case you don't have Chacona. So she doesn't rely on Chacona? No, but Chacona makes your life easier. If you don't have Chacona, you're gonna have to be doing some like switching between Cartethyia Fleur-de-Lis to keep your stacks up a little bit. Because it seems like she is like, she's kind of like Peeb. From what I'm seeing, she's very similar to Peeb. You know how Peeb, technically, if you wanted to, you could do a full confession into absolution rotation. She is like technically self-sustaining. She doesn't need Spectral Rover to apply Spectral Frazzle. Obviously, having Spectral Rover makes your life 10 times easier and doesn't make you rely on fucking Forte rotations. But I think Cartethyia is even better than Peeb in that you're not restricted by Forte loop outside of being able to transform into Fleur-de-Lis and the whole ult, right? Outside of that, once you've unlocked Fleur-de-Lis's transformation, you can basically switch back and forth between Cartethyia Fleur-de-Lis at will to give yourself more stacks whenever you need to. So intro skill for Fleur-de-Lis, thrust forward to impale the target. Okay, so Fleur-de-Lis. Oh, wow. So Fleur-de-Lis even has an intro skill if you actually just... If you switch out of Fleur-de-Lis without popping her ult, does she still... Does it pause the manifest cooldown as well? No, it doesn't. Can't tell. It doesn't really say one way or the other. Outro skill, arrow damage by active resonant energy. 5 by 17.5%. Gion buff? I'm just saying, you know, like this is arrow damage dealt. Amplification. What if you did an Gion Chacona Cartethyia? Rover Arrow is in the team. Rover Arrow additionally restores 25 wind strings upon casting Omega Storm. No idea what any of that meant at the end there, because I don't know anything about Arrow Rover. Targets with 1 to 3 stacks of Arrow Erosion take 30% more damage from Cartethyia Fleur-de-Lis. Targets with more than 3 stacks additionally take 10% more. Ooh. Okay, so you can get up to 60% more. Okay, this is where the Arrow Rover 6 stacks comes into play. So up to 60% more damage from Cartethyia Fleur-de-Lis. It helps Arrow Rover fill up the Forte gauge. Okay, okay. Yo, her kit's actually really fucking... Like, it looks really fucking fun for me. Like, it's actually exactly what I want. A character who's, like, self-sufficient. Pretty self-sufficient, being able to do most things by themselves. Doesn't really need another teammate. Other teammates obviously help, but... Look at her weapon. True, true, true. Let's look at the weapon. So, 72% HP. Holy fuck. Synchronization. Okay, max HP is increased by another up to 24% at R5. 15 seconds after casting intro skill or basic attack ignores up to 16% of target's defense at R5 when dealing damage. Oh my lord. If the target has at least 1 second of air erosion, the target's damage taken is amplified up to 40%. Holy fuck, bro. This weapon is fucking disgusting. Yeah, it's amplification. I might be wrong, but I think in Wu's wording, amplification is the best modifier, right? So this is kind of disgusting. Like, holy god, bro. Jesus. So you have defense ignore, you have amplification, and you have fucking double HP percentage stat line. Bro, this thing at R5 is almost 100% HP. Is it crit rate or crit damage? No, it's HP percentage. Yeah, it's HP percentage. So this is what I'm wondering. Y'all were saying you would still go 4-3-3-1-1 with her. Then wouldn't you need a crit rate? Well, no, chat. Everybody's saying 4-3-3-1-1 is still better if you go like beyond S0. Is it still 4-4-1-1-1? No. So 4-4-1-1-1 is still better? Okay. Yeah. I was about to say, how the fuck do you make 4-3-3-1-1 really good without a crit weapon? Because then you'd have to have it either a crit rate 4 costs, or if you go crit damage 4 costs, you'd have to have the most insane fucking crit rate lines in the world. Like, that just wouldn't work. So you'd have to go 4-4-1-1-1. You go crit damage 4, crit rate 4, and then go HP, HP, HP. Double crit damage 4 costs with perfect crit rate rolls. Yeah, okay, buddy. Let us know how that goes. Even if you did, I don't think your crit rate would still be good enough. Do you know how to stay indefinitely in Fleur-de-Lis form? I don't think you can. So, okay, I'm confused. So it comes down to this. Does the manifest form, when it expires, force you out of Fleur-de-Lis form? Or does manifest expiring only affect your damage? No? Okay, then, yeah, it seems like once you've ulted, once you get max forte on Cartethyia, you just pop the ult, and then you transform. And then manifest is just for damage. So even if it runs out after 12 seconds, you could just stay as Fleur-de-Lis. Yeah, but you can't fly with Fleur. Okay, the question is this then. If I transform into Fleur-de-Lis and then fly, but then land back down, do I turn back into Fleur-de-Lis when I land? Or do I turn back into Cartethyia? Like, I don't know how that works. Still Cart? So any type of utility just automatically turns us into a wall running. Oh my god. We can't wall run either as Fleur-de-Lis, because imagine how the fuck that would work. Giant fucking 15-foot tall woman trying to run across walls, right? Like, we'd be forced into Cartethyia again. Yeah, so like, if You could only really stay as Fleur-de-Lis if you plan on walking everywhere. If you decide to do any sort of grapple, flying, wall running, you're just turning back into Cartethyia, which is like, I don't know. I do think it would have been cool if they made at least flying work with Fleur-de-Lis form, but, you know, I'm sure there would have been a bunch of fucking headaches just to make that work. So it's just for looking at Fleur-de-Lis or taking pictures, nothing else? Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I think that's fine. I don't really have a big problem with that. Eyes aside, I like her kit a lot. I like her kit a lot. Bro, I feel like almost any tweet I do of Fleur-de-Lis does pretty fucking well. I'm just farming Fleur-de-Lis ass and feet forever.